place. Yes.
a challenge every day.
Yes.
But no more serious. At least being here, also in Kenya, and having this fantastic job is a blessing.
Yeah.
I must say I had 8 relatively tough years in Berlin with regard to workload and responsibility. Still, workload and responsibility is high here, but the working environment is different. So as an ambassador, you are sort of course, the CEO. I mean, your column or your interview is looking at CEOs. I'm basically not a CEO, but I'm the boss, of course, of this embassy. Yeah. So I can also decide a little bit on the priorities, on the rhythm of work, where we look at, and also have the contact with Berlin, with headquarters, and that's very nice. But also being here gives me a lot of opportunities to do different things, and discover new things every day. Yeah. And that's being in this diplomatic business, I think, gives you the opportunity every day to be at the forefront of certain developments. The world is changing so fast, and witnessing this change, trying to understand it, trying to give advice to your capital is a very nice task, and I really feel it basically every day. I mean, of course, there are days where you are tired or where you are a bit annoyed by everything, but all in all, I'm very happy to be here right now and to be Sebastian in Kenya. I was here already 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, we used to publish a supplement in the newspapers for the 3rd of October, our National Day. And I was the press attaché, I was Michael then. And when I first came and did it for the first time, I was so nervous that really on the 3rd of October there would be the supplement in the newspaper, that I basically spent 1 week with your guys at Nation, because it was Nation again, our partner there. And I felt that there was a different approach in doing things. And I was very, very nervous to see the supplement coming out, because it was with sponsors and stuff. But then on the 3rd of October, everything went out like agreed, and it was very fine. It was not so much a shock, but it was a different way to approach things and to do things. And I learned a lot about this sort of also coolness and relaxedness. I think I was not at all relaxed at this moment. And the poor guy with whom I dealt at this point, I think, he was also nervous then, becoming nervous. But and after these 3 years, coming back then after 20 years, to a country that a little bit, didn't give me a lot of shocks, to be honest, because I knew what to expect. If it's my favorite part, but I'm even probably, if it looks from the outside, as if I'm always very sure about things, about my assessments and about how I judge things. That's not how I am. I'm asking a lot of questions to myself, to my environment, and I doubt many things, including myself. And even if this is sometimes challenging for your own personality, it also opens up new spheres, or new perspectives on things, also on yourself. So you have to remain open to yourself and to the environment, and I think that's what I at least try. Even with a certain age. I mean, I'm 51, it's not really old, but not young also. It's a bit in between.
It's in there.
But more old than young, probably, and still you have to try to not to know everything and to be too, sure about things. I think several questions. I mean, I read a lot and read a lot about philosophy, psychology, history, politics, and of course in all these books you find answers, but again new questions. So I think to really focus it back to one question is You can ask how to lead a happy life, or how to be a happy person, a fulfilled person, a satisfied person. But this is a bit selfish also. It's only about yourself.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it begins with yourself. So if you're not at ease with yourself, it's very difficult to also play a peaceful role in your environment. So both, I think, at least two questions: how to be in peace with myself and also with my direct environment. I think that's two important questions.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not my general mode, because I'm also full of normally sort of energy and impassionate sometimes. But of course, I do a lot of sports. I'm very interested in music. I read a lot. I have a lot of friends. I have a family and kids that you see growing and developing. My father is still living. He's 83 years old. He was in Kenya just 2 weeks ago visiting me and seeing me also in my new role, of course, being proud and wanted to visit the embassy also and everything. So yes, and in these moments I find peace. I think that's in these conversations and in the feedback that you get. But also being alone, really music is playing a very important role for me. If I practice myself for sometimes, I don't know, 1 hour, 2 hours, then I'm with me.
Yes.
And the same is true for sports also.
Yeah.
When I was 8 years old, with the piano, and in Germany you have local music schools in every village basically. So I had a teacher there, but normally you start more with classical things. I started with jazz when I was 15 or 16 probably. So I played in the big band of our school and then met other friends. But here now, playing here is for me the most satisfying thing I've ever done musically, I must say. So because I'm also in music full of doubt, I play and then I say, what was this? What did you do there? But here, due to the people with whom I play, I feel at peace, in a certain way. So.
Yeah.
It's never boring because it's communication. If you do jazz, and it's an ad hoc communication, you have to listen what the others play. You have to fill in. Sometimes the other musicians play bullshit or make mistakes, then you have to cover and help them. Sometimes yourself, you're out of tune or out of rhythm, and then you have to try to find your way back. So if you play yourself, it's never boring, at least for me. I grew up in a relatively small village in Germany, and one of the memories is so there was a mountainous area around our village called the Odenwald. Not really high, it's a little bit like the Shimba Hills, but without lions, of course. But I always remember the first sort of spring, because in Kenya you have rainy season and let's say the sunny season, but you don't have the 4 seasons as we have in Europe. And in Europe it's really a difference between winter and spring. Winter is a bit grey, depressed, cold, windy, and then all of a sudden, and I come from the southern part of Germany, end of March, early April, you feel, wow, life is coming back. And I remember some trips or bicycle tours that we did then on this first day of real spring, when you feel the sun and the energy coming back to nature somehow, that we did then as kids, a cycling tour to the Odenwald, just around our village. And this is a very strong memory. When you are a child, you take things as they are, without prejudice. And the older you get, the more experiences you have, and the more you try to compare with earlier experiences, and it's all sort of relative. It's not absolute. And if you are a child, things are absolute. They are as they are. And I think to retain this would be nice, but it's impossible because somehow it's becoming part of your identity and of your personality. But I mean, what I sometimes miss when I think about it is that you have a certain, really a structure in your life. I mean, you have school. In Germany, you had school until 12:30, 1 o'clock. You came home, you got lunch, you played, you made your homework. I don't know, you go to bed. So this very fixed rhythm, in a certain way, gives you certainty and assurance about the next day. And now, the older you get, you also had bad experience in life, loss of friends or whatsoever, and you know that every day can be a change also in your life, a very deep change. And as a child, you don't realize this. Once I had some friends in the bigger neighbor town of my own town, and they called me Professor because I knew everything better, I think. But then you can make a lot of nicknames with Sebastian. You can say Seb or Seba, or in Germany you can even say Basti. My sister always called me Basti. So even nowadays she calls me Basti, and I'm always a bit surprised because I don't hear this any longer. No, but that's it. But that's not really a nickname, but that's just a short version of Sebastian. I think the interest for aesthetic things, but that in literature, in arts and music, but also the interest in politics. I remember that very early in my childhood I started to read heavy newspapers, not the sports pages, but really like in Germany we have magazines, and my parents had these newspapers coming in every week, and I started reading them when I was probably 13 or 14. Not really a child, but in between somehow. And I still do it. I'm addictive to newspapers. So and even online, I need the paper still. A number of things, and I thought about this question in advance because I knew that you're very much into literature, but there was one book that just won the Booker Prize, a German author called Jenny Erpenbeck. The first time I think that a German author won this prize. She's from the eastern part of Germany, and the book is called Kairos. And it's a bit a poisoned romance in the dying GDR, in the dying eastern part, dying in terms of deconstruction of the regime. And it's a very strong book, literally, but also historically. I think the way she observes things and puts together this relationship with the political development is just amazing. But I read another book from a French author, Annie Ernaux. She won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2022. And basically it's a book about herself, growing up in France in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 0-10. And she's always picking up very contemporary and normal things in her daily life, but then constructing a bigger history out of these small things from a very female perspective, which is also interesting, I think, for us as men to see how women see things. And I would not say that the book changed my life, but it gave me new ideas and perspectives. And I'm very, I lived for a long time in France, and I'm very attached to France as well, and French-German relations and Europe as such. And so this was interesting to me. I think I like it a lot if things are not too stiff, more relaxed and not so formal. And if people then tell me they like this, if they love me, I don't know, but if they like this approach, I'm very happy myself, because I think we are on the same page then. And I have a problem with a high degree of formality. That's why sometimes I ask myself if it's really the right job being an ambassador, because then of course you have a lot of formalities to follow. But I think also that the job changed a lot in the last 10-15 years, and here in Kenya, or I was in Somalia on Monday, it's all less formal, I think, than 10-15 years ago. And if people then start smiling, laughing, and you build a human relationship even in a very short period of time, I appreciate this very much. In the beginning, it is not easy, because you feel a lot of expectations and you expect a lot from yourself. At least I expected a lot from myself. And I never was responsible for such a big team also. We are 90 people in the embassy. I was head of department in Berlin before for around about 20 people. So it's more than 4 times, and this is a different piece of cake. So that's something that was challenging. And also the sort of respect that is given to you due to your position was new for me, and I sometimes ask myself, but this is not Sebastian now that the people are talking to, especially out of Nairobi. You are, as an ambassador, sort of like a waziri from what people think about you, about your power, your influence, your connections, and whatsoever. They think that you can do wonders, but this is of course not true, and this is that was something that I had to get used to it also, and to manage somehow. And the third thing, probably, that's your business, is the interest of the media. I'm really not media, but also the public in general. I'm surprised by this. I appreciate it also. It's part of my job, but I didn't expect it to be so sort of intense. I'm relatively active on Twitter, for example, and it's interesting to get feedback for this also. And mainly it's positive. Sometimes it's more critical, but it's an interesting way to engage with the people. No, I think it's an absolutely justified question, and the ideal, of course, is a 50-50 partition of labor. Michael, for example, just got his second child, and his wife is taking 7 months, but he's also taking several months of, how do you say, not maternity leave? Or
paternity.
Yes. So I did the same with the first child for 3 months, but not for the second. And I have also to say that this period when the children were very small, I worked a lot. And in retrospective, I would say too much. And I apologized for it also to my wife. But you can't rewrite the history. It happened like this. And I have to say, even if you say I'm busy here, and sometimes it's from breakfast to dinner, but you are more free in how you also use your time. If there's a gap of 2 hours in the afternoon, you can go home and you can do things for yourself or with the family. And for the weekend, you have fantastic opportunities also to go out of Nairobi. And so my children are now 14 and 15, which is an age where you are very probably even relatively happy if your parents are not around. But still, I would say we have a very good and open and trustful relationship. It's totally different. Being a father is an existential challenge. Being an ambassador is a task that you have to fulfill, and a role that you can do like this. Also, the father, but the relationship between a parent and the child is a unique thing. And the relationship between me and my deputy and me and Michael, it's important. We don't want to eat each other, but we know that we are here together in this thing. We respect each other, but you can't compare it. And Michael also can't compare the relationship that he has with me to his father or to his son. It's different. My limits also, in a way. I mean, you have probably an idealized role of what a father could be or should be, and then you're not always successful 24/7, not passionate enough, or not was heißt geduldig? Patient, not passionate, patient, and sometimes losing your coolness and having too high expectations, or being also probably too close and controlling, or not close enough. I mean, it's always a challenge to find the right degree between giving orientation and giving freedom.
Yes.
And I think the older the kids get, the more you have to let loose.
Yeah.
But still, my sister once said, she has 3 kids, and that the most important point in the period of adolescence is not losing contact to your children, so that they isolate and only do their own things. And I think to keep these channels open, and even if they come home totally drunken and do stupid things,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, or do mistakes. I mean, life is also full of mistakes, and especially if you're 15 or 16, it happens. Not losing the contact and the trust, and trying to find a way out of these things. Yeah, trying to invest time and energy in the relationship. It's sometimes in this weekly rhythm, it's very hard to find these inroads, into the life of your children. They are also becoming more and more busy, which is normal, but still having quality time together, either when you go out for a weekend, or you go to a restaurant, or you do different things. Sometimes the elder son is interested in a little bit in the job, so when I have a reception or a thing going on, once in a while he's coming with me, and just to see how things work, and that's interesting for me also. My parents were relatively liberal, I would say, but I was the second born, and my sister's 4 years older, so she fought for a lot of freedoms that I then enjoyed, I think. But I think me and my wife, we are still more liberal than the generation ahead. And it's more, I would say, an eyes level partnership or a relationship than parents, children in the strict sense. There's no hierarchy. And of course, we are calling the shots by the end of the day, but we don't do it too openly. And we try to respect also what the children want and have for priorities, let's say for holidays, or to respect also their wishes and their priorities. But I mean, the life changed totally in these 25, 30, 35 years in between my childhood and the childhood of my children. I remember when I was a child, it was probably the first generation that grew up with computers, which was the famous Commodore C64. I mean, the approach is different, I think, also because there's a more female approach and a more masculine approach. But I can't say which one is. It's not qualitatively different. There's not a better or worse. It's just different. I think that it is important for boys to have also sort of positive role models. This can be your father, but this can also be a different person. But I think especially for boys in a certain age, that is quite important. And also to tell them that you fail from time to time, and that you are desperate from time to time, or not always the winner, as this is important. And I would not say that I'm less emotional, but the emotional factor from a woman is always different probably than from a man.
Yeah.
Sometimes nowadays I think to try to really do a musical career is tempting. The thought, the idea is tempting.
The ambassador who sings.
No, not singing, but doing serious music, either in the jazz or classical field or whatsoever. I don't know if I would have had talent enough, and it's not only talent, it's 8 hours of work every day it's really a serious thing, and then you end up as a not very well paid occasional musician somewhere. So I'm
but extremely happy.
I'm happy, probably fulfilled, and now I think I'm in the best of all worlds because I have a job and I can do the music on the side, but still the satisfaction that I get, if I think, okay, that was a good performance or a good, I don't know, feeling together with the other musicians, and you get this feedback from the people, this gives me a lot. In a certain sense, every day you have things that can happen. Politically, of course, in your own country, in your host country, but also in your team. We have, as I said, a relatively big team, and you are not 100% responsible for each and everybody, but in a way it affects you. It affects you because you have a relationship with the people. So if they have personal problems, if they have family problems, if they have health problems, it affects you. It's a relatively high degree of insecurity because you never know in the morning what will happen until the evening. We also have, of course, consular cases, Germans that are victims of crimes, that have accidents. This is a certain degree, but that makes it very interesting because you don't know. I mean, of course, I have my agenda and I have my meetings and stuff, but by the end of the day, you don't know how the day ends and what really is important and what really happens. But this is not only bad; this is also a good thing.
Yeah. And as a man?
As a man, insecurity as a man. As I said, I mean, it depends very much on your personality, I think. I have moments where I think a lot about, did I act the right way? Have I been too harsh or not harsh enough? Or did I set the right priorities? Do I, as a person, develop in the right direction, or am I too, narrow-minded? Have I too many blind spots around me? That's not really an insecurity, but that's questions that you ask yourself. At least I ask myself. Yeah, I think in our business, but it's true in the media business as well, and in business as business, there's a lot of shining and visibility, and it's not so much about the person behind it, but by the end of the day, that's what counts. To have a healthy relationship, for me at least, this is important with your environment. So if I have conflicts in my environment, even if the people probably sometimes feel that I'm harsh and tough and know what I want, but internally I work on it, and I prefer, of course, having a sort of harmonious environment. There is no sort of inner urge of things that I really miss, and I think when I turned 50 last year, I talked to our house help, And by the way, she's the one who was already with me when I was here 20 years ago.
Oh.
And I was a bit in not midlife crisis, 50, but 50 is something, you know.
Yes.
And she said, yeah, congratulations. And I said, yes, okay, but you know, it's also a bit hard for me, 50. And then she said, no, I think we should be grateful. And this is very true. So in this sense, I try to be grateful and not to look too much for things that I missed. You know, there's a song that was a beautiful year.
Yes.
It's Benny Golson, I think. And this is a very short jazz tune, but very compact and very nice melody. And I think always on the last day of the year, I try to play it once when we do a party. And even if the year also, I mean, in political terms, for many people in Europe, to the war of Russia against Ukraine and the humanitarian catastrophes all over the world, it's a bit superstitious or too positive probably to say this was a beautiful year. But on a personal note, I try to book it like this, you know, and even for the 50 years, I think it was a beautiful first half. No, I think that I'm a relatively open-minded person. So of course, I judge too much, but I try to do it less and less, to accept things more than they are, and also people, not things, but people. In a personal way. I mean, I think there you have to distinguish between your professional life, which is more sort of organized, and then your personal life, but also you have a gray area in between. And now I trust much more the people. I hope so that it's the case, and let them do their job and just come in if necessary, and then if the people come in, then I'm there, of course. But and I think that you can change your approach also, and that's there I thank myself that I'm less control freak now than I probably was 2 years ago in the beginning. Talking to you is nice. It's a very unusual interview. It's more like talking to a friend or talking to a person that you know for a long time. No, I have to say what makes me happy is just looking into this garden and see the nature.
And see monkeys passing.
And monkeys and see the nature, the light, when you know, I have a lot of friends, not a lot, but some friends that are also into literature and arts and journalism. And I have one friend that just texted me a few days ago. He's a French author. His name is Olivier Guez. And I think we would have I just feel it. We would have a good time together, talking to each other and just exchanging about how you see things and stuff. So I think that's a person you should probably meet one day.
You should introduce me to.
Yes, probably he comes one day too. It's okay.